Welcome to this GAT Labs overview of GAT+. In this overview, we'll be going through every section of the GAT+ tool and giving a short explanation of each area's purpose. We also have timestamps for each individual section being covered. As is the case with overviews, we won't be going in depth on how certain areas can be used. You can find that information in our separate how-to videos, or by visiting our knowledge base at gatlabs.com. We highly recommend using our knowledge base. It's full of guides and helpful information to get you started. So, what is GAT+? In short, GAT+ is an alternative to the reports feature within the admin console. It has a wide range of tools to help admins get more control over their domain. GAT+ can be accessed from the apps launcher from any Google webpage. When you launch GAT+, you will be in the dashboard area. GAT Labs offers many products within different plans. You can access these products from the top right corner of each app. The GAT+ side menu hosts all of the sections within the GAT+ tool. We'll be going through each section from the top, so let's begin. The Audit and Management section is home to all of GAT+'s auditing areas. Users Audit focuses on the following areas and can be navigated using the tabs on the top of the screen. The Basic tab overviews all of the user's key settings, like which OU they were in and when they last signed in, as well as other information like what groups and contacts they are associated with. The Drive tab and Drive Productivity tab give an overview of all files users have access to and how they're shared with different permissions. The differences between the Drive tab and Drive Productivity tab is that the Drive tab covers all files a user owns or has access to, whereas the Drive Productivity tab only focuses on the files a user has created or uploaded directly onto their own MyDrive. The Files Types tab shows audited information on all the different file types, as well as who owns the most number of files for each file type. The Quota tab shows how much Google Drive quota, file storage in megabytes, is being used by each user. The Security tab shows security risks and insights for each user. For example, if they have two-factor authentication turned off and when they fail to log in. The Applications tab shows each third-party app connected to a user's Google account. Apps can access different permissions from Google accounts, so this is where you can view them. The Calendars tab shows each calendar the user has access to, and the number of future events the user is participating in. The Devices tab summarizes the number of smartphones or Chrome OS devices that are connected to a user's account. The Email Info tab allows you to view Gmail settings in place for each user, settings like auto-forwarding policies and if someone has given Gmail delegation access to other users. The Meet tab gives a summary of Google Meet calls for each user. And finally, the Events tab shows the events a user has taken in relation to security. These logs can show when a user changed their password or changed their two-factor enrollment. That summarizes the User's Audit section. Next, we will cover the Groups section. In the Groups tab, you'll see all of the Google groups within your workspace domain. Each group will be displayed within the result table. You can find any group using many filtering parameters. You can modify any group's permissions or settings, see who is a member of that group, or if a group has members from outside your organization. In the Group Members tab, you'll be able to easily see which users are in certain Google groups. You can also add or remove any user from an existing group. The Events tab shows all actions taken on group settings or membership. For example, if a new user was added, a user was removed from a group, or a new group was created. In the Last Used Address tab, GAT+ runs a metadata scan for each Google group to audit the following: when an email was sent to the group, when a file was shared with the group, if calendar events were sent to the group, or when a user was last added to the group. Based on that information, you can easily decide if a Google group is no longer needed. In the Contacts tab, you can view all contacts across your entire organization. If they've been entered in contacts.google.com, they'll appear in the Contacts Audit. You can apply search parameters to find any contact. You can take action on these contacts, whether it's to copy or delete them. You can also create contacts in your users' accounts. The next two sections, Classroom and Classroom Insights, are for educational domains. The Classroom tab allows you to view all of your Google Classrooms, i.e. every single classroom created by your workspace domain users. From here, you can edit, delete, or create any Google Classroom. You can also apply search parameters to find the classroom you're looking for. Some actions that are usually taking place in this tab include adding or removing co-teachers to a classroom, adding or removing students from a classroom, creating new classrooms, or editing details of existing classrooms. The Classwork tab lists out every assignment and question created by teachers within Google Classrooms. From this tab, you can generate a report about all the work teachers have created for students. The Classwork Submissions tab shows all of the responses submitted by students for their assignments. This tab covers all of the answers given by students. You can identify which students have not submitted any work for a particular assignment. The Teachers tab shows all classrooms where a teacher is a participant, whether that classroom is archived or active. You can also see the number of assignments created by teachers in the last 30 days. The Students tab lists out every single student from all of the Google Classrooms. It will also show the Guardian information. Each student will be listed with a number of active and archived classrooms they're a participant at. Next, we have the Classroom Insights section. The Classes tab lists every single Google Classroom in a visual way, showing details like number of teachers and students, and a number of classwork that has been published by teachers. The Class Info tab is where you will be redirected to by clicking on a classroom in the Classes tab. There you'll find much more details on the classroom, and if the GAT Shield extension has been deployed to students, you'll be able to generate browsing stats. The Student Submission Summary tab summarizes student performance and provides an overall grade for the total number of submitted assignments for a particular classroom. You can use this tab to view student performance across all of their Google Classrooms. Now we'll move on to the Application section. The Application tab lists all third-party apps which have been authorized to access different privileges from a user's Google account. It shows you what permissions third-party apps have access to and rates the risk of those privileges. You'll also see how many users have authorized that app. If you don't approve of an app, you can set up a policy to ban it from extracting data from its privileges. In the Policies tab, you'll see all trusted or banned app policies. These policies can cover all or some users depending on their scope. In the Events tab, each time a privilege is invoked by a third-party app, a record of the event is stored. Now we'll move on to the Chrome OS Devices section. In the Chrome OS Devices tab, you'll see all enrolled Chromebooks within your domain. You can see all of their details as well as edit these details and take action on them if needed. A key feature in this tab is the ability to export the results to make changes within the Google spreadsheet, then import the changes to make them final. Next, we have the Mobile Devices section. The Mobile Devices tab shows you all connected mobile devices, Android or iOS. From this tab, you can view all device specs and details. You can also take actions on a device, like wiping an account off a device. Next is the Apps tab. When advanced mobile management is enabled in the Google Workspace Admin console, and users are forced to install the Google Device Policy app, you can report on all installed apps on their mobile device. This tab will then show you all installed apps on each user's device, and what privileges that app requires. Now we'll move on to the Drive section. The Files tab allows super admins or delegated auditors to apply custom search filters to find any file or folder within My Drives or Shared Drives for any Google account. In this area, you'll also find all actions you can take on these files. The File Content Search tab leverages Google's Content Search API. You can enter any string or character query. This search is then passed to Google to be performed. It does not rely on the GAT Plus metadata scan. Once Google completes the search, the answer is given back in real time. From this section, you can also take any actions on the files returned by the search. The Files Deleted tab shows you all permanently deleted files. It is a log of deleted files where you can view the metadata for them. However, they cannot be restored from here. You can also export the results of any filter you apply. In the Shared Drive tab, you'll find all root folder structures for a shared drive. You can also manage the memberships and settings of any shared drive, and also go inside any shared drive if you wish to. The Events tab shows all event actions taken on files and folders. Each file or folder has an event record log. In this tab, you can search for a user and all actions they've taken on a file or folder. The Folders Tree tab shows in a visual way all folder structures. You can clearly see the subfolder levels within a root folder. The Group Sharing tab gives insights if members of a Google group share files with members of another Google group. The External Domains tab gives insights on which domains files are being shared with. It also shows you the amount of files shared out with external domains. The Domain Connection Graph tab is very similar to the External Domains tab, but it presents the information in a simple visual view. You can also apply filters to see which domains have access to files on your domain. The External Users tab lists all external users who have access to files on your domain. It also shows you what these users can view and edit. Now we'll move on to the Email section. The Emails tab allows Google Super Admins or Delegated Auditors to apply any search filter to find any email within their domain. The search can cover every Google account within the domain. As long as the email is not permanently deleted, it will appear in the metadata scan. From this tab, you can also take action on the emails using GAT unlock. In the Email Content Search tab, you can apply any string or character-based search. Your search parameters are passed to Google's Email Content Search API, and results are returned in real time. This tab does not leverage GAT plus metadata scans. Within this tab, you can also take any actions on the emails returned. The User Statistics tab gives insights into each user's email activity. It shows every Google account and the number of emails they send and receive from their own email address, or if they used a Google Group email to send that email. The Group Statistics tab shows Google Group stats about emails sent and received by Google Groups. For each day, you'll see how many emails were sent or received and how many emails included attachments. The External From To tab shows every external email address that's been receiving or sending emails to or from users on your domain. Next is the Sender Receiver tab. When you apply a filter within the Emails tab, click the Sender Receiver tab to get a breakdown of all the external senders and receivers. You can also see a breakdown of all internal senders and receivers too. This tab is useful when you navigate from the Emails tab directly to the Sender Receiver tab. The Domain Connections tab shows a list of all domains that are sending emails to your domain. It shows you the date of their first email interaction with your domain, as well as their most recent interaction with your domain. The Domains Connections Graph tab is very similar to the Domains Connections tab, but presents the information in a simple visual view. You can apply filters to see which external domains send or receive the most amount of emails from your domain. The Mail Domains tab shows a list of all domains your domain connects with, and whether these domains are Google Workspace domains or Office 365 domains. If they're not Workspace or Office 365, they're categorized as Other. These could be self-hosted mail domains. You'll also be able to see when these domains first connected with your domain. Next, we have the Classic Site section. When you click on the Classic Site Auditing area, you'll be redirected to the old design of GAT+, where you can audit Google Classic Sites. These sites were hosted by Google. If you wish to audit the new version of Google Sites, you'll need to go to Drive Audit. Since the new version of Google Site is stored on Google Drive, you'll find auditing metadata in Drive Audit. Next, we'll check the Calendars section. In the Calendars tab, you'll see every user's primary and secondary calendar details. From there, you can modify and edit any user's access to a Google Calendar. You can change ownership, add new users, or remove users from calendar permissions. The key feature here is that you can search using the Filter Query menu to find all calendars a user has access to. In the Calendar Events tab, you can find all past or future calendar events. If you need to make changes to an upcoming future event, you can do so from this tab too. Next is the Calendar Resources tab. If you have defined Google Calendar resources within your Workspace Admin console, then you can search for these resources and find all associated calendar events, past or future, in this tab. The Calendar Events Meetings tab focuses on Google Calendar events which include a Google Meet video conference link. You'll be able to view the duration of these Google Meet conference calls and the participants of that meeting. Next, we'll take a look at the Meet section. In the Activity tab, you can view weekly and monthly Google Meet activity. You can see Google Meet call entries and details for each user. You'll also be able to determine if any user had a Google Meet call and how long it lasted. The Timeline tab is a visual representation of the Activity tab. You'll see visual entries on a timeline for each hour of the day. If a user has a call at a particular hour, you'll see a colored dot appearing on the timeline. Next, we have the Activity Graph tab. For each Meet conference call, you'll have a conference ID. You can use this conference ID to find the call and see a visual representation of all its participants, and how long they stayed within the conferencing room. For the Map tab, users who report back their IP address to Google while they have a Google Meet call will appear on the map, and their location can be identified. The Meetings Without Organizers tab will show Google Meet calls where the organizer is not present or has left, and users continue to stay within the room. For the Meet Cost tab, if you define the average hourly work rates for users within the GAT Plus configuration area, then the Meet Cost tab will show you a chart of the potential cost of a Google Meet call. This is based on the concept that time is money, so within a certain time range, you'll see all the potential spending for Google Meets. The Summary 30 Days tab shows you many Google Meet activity charts in a visual way. It will also show you the total number of calls occurring each day, and the average time spent on each. Next, we have the YouTube section. In the Channels tab, all users will be presented with the total number of YouTube videos they published, and how many of those videos are set to be viewed by people from outside of the organization. Clicking on any values within the table will redirect you to the Videos tab so you can take action. In the Videos tab, you'll see more details on the YouTube video. From here, you can also change the video's visibility to private or unlisted if the video was set to public. Next, we have the User Login section. The Events tab shows all events related to logins. You can identify who failed to enter their password correctly or who failed to pass the login challenge prompted to them. If they were successful in logging in, the event will state OK. If they failed, the event will state Login Failure. If Google has access to their IP, then a beacon will appear on the map. The Login IP tab focuses on the reported IP addresses and the events reported from them. If IP is available, a beacon will be placed on the map. Moving on to the One-Click Reports section. The Reports tab lists a few useful report types available in GAT+. By clicking on a link, you will be redirected and a search filter will be applied in that audit section. This allows you to quickly schedule that filter search if you choose to. Next, we have the Google Workspace DLP section. The DLP Dashboard tab shows you charts and graphs of the Google DLP rules which were triggered. The DLP rules must be defined within your admin console. In the Drive Events tab, you'll be able to view all triggered DLP events and view if a file had PII, personal identifiable information, within it. The Drive Rules tab will list out all the DLP rules that you have created within your admin console. Next, we'll move on to the Roles and Privileges section. The Roles tab lists out all custom roles and standard roles within your admin console. Here you can quickly identify which users have which roles, the Google Workspace Super Admin role being the most important and most powerful role, of course. In the Privileges tab, you'll see all the privileges available and which roles use these privileges. Next, we'll move to the Alerts tab. Within the configuration area of GAT+, you can develop near real-time alerts called Alert Rules. If these alerts are triggered, you'll see the event details within this tab. You can then quickly identify which user triggered or violated the alert rule you have in place. Now we'll move on to the sections contained in the configuration area, beginning with the General section. The Domain Info tab shows you Google license information, an active user count, as well as your GAT+ license type, and the list of the nominated security officers if you use GAT Unlock. You'll also find a field to enter your primary contact details so the GAT support team can reach out to you if needed. The Settings tab provides you with options to create custom tags that can later be assigned to email or Drive metadata. If you have other secondary domains, you can declare them as company-owned domains, so they don't appear as external within the auditing reports. In the Date and Time tab, you'll be able to configure the global settings for all users' dates and times. In the Scan Options tab, you can hide and not report metadata from certain auditing areas. The Reports tab gives a weekly activity report which is automatically generated by GAT+. It can also be disabled from this tab. The Tasks tab will show all of the recurring scheduled metadata scans. It will show their status and health. You can manually force a metadata scan to be scheduled to run quicker than normal. A normal metadata scan should run every 10 hours. In the Average Cost Per Hour tab, you can declare the average hourly work rate for any employee. This will be used within the Meet auditing area. The next area, called Security Officer, is only available to domains that have GAT Unlock as part of their plan. The Security Officers area will only appear to users who have been nominated as Security Officers. We will be covering this area in a separate overview of GAT Unlock. Moving on to Delegated Auditors. By default, Google Workspace Super Admins are the only users able to access the GAT+ tool. If you wish to delegate GAT Plus access to others, then they'll need to be declared as a delegated auditor. In the Auditors tab, you can declare new delegated auditor roles and view existing roles. Next, we have the admin log. In the admin log tab, all actions that are taken within the GAT Plus tool appear as a log within the admin log. This log is immutable and cannot be deleted. Below that, we have the scheduled reports section. The Scheduled tab shows all scheduled reports that have been created. From here, you can remove them or assign an action to the scheduled reports. Finally, we have the Alert Rules section. In the Alert Rules tab, you can create alert rule policies that are near real time. They can trigger from 30 minutes to 2 hours after an incident occurs. You can set up alert rules to trigger based on user activity, drive sharing, or Gmail settings changed. Below the configuration area, we have the Help area. This is where you can find different links that can help you get the most out of GAT Plus. That concludes our GAT Plus overview. As always, we highly recommend visiting our knowledge base for guides and subscribing to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to visit our website to get a 15-day free trial.